Well, hello, everybody, and thanks for tuning into the Storytelling Alchemist show here on the Los Angeles Tribune every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Thanks for tuning in. I'm excited about my guest tonight. I've actually known of him for probably about 10 or 11 years, and I was just really loved his work, but I'm really excited about his work he's done in the past few years on working with empaths, and this is his latest work, the Empath Oracle deck. He's calling in from Hawaii, so he's probably very warm and trying to keep himself warm in that nice climate there in Hawaii. But please welcome to the show, Raven Digitalis. Bring him on the line right now.
Hey guys,
Hi, Raven. How are you?
good to see you. Doing well, keeping warm.
Oh, it's definitely a beautiful setting though behind you, so I guess that's a
Yeah,
good thing.
that's a gorgeous day here.
So, what
Gorgeous
part of
day. Just
Hawaii? What part of Hawaii
for
are
a
you on?
Montana boy, it's a little tough sometimes, but it's amazing.
So, what part of Hawaii are you in? What island?
Kauai,
Okay,
northernmost.
I was
Mhm.
in Maui at Christmas time. It was great last
Oh
year.
yeah,
So
Melikalikimaka.
there you go. I
Mhm.
They tried to get me to say that. I was like, nope, not gonna happen.
No,
But I appreciate. So, couple questions. So you went from. I'm gonna mess this up a little bit. You've changed genres a little bit. You were more goth magic. Am I saying that correct?
sure.
Into you've gone more. I think you've blended your worlds, more Buddhist, and now you're working on empath, working with empaths.
Well,
Like,
I've just created and completed my Empaths trilogy on Llewellyn, which is super exciting. And of course, my first book was called Gothcraft, The Magical Side of Dark Culture. And after that, I went to Shadow Magic Compendium, keeping in the kind of dark theme. And I'm very happy that Shadow Magic Compendium is getting reprinted in autumn under a new publisher, and it's revised and expanded. It's called The Witch's Shadow Magic Compendium. And just a few days ago, pre orders for the limited edition hardback are available through Crossed Crow Press. But my Empath trilogy is with Llewellyn.
yeah, very cool. Well, I love it because one of the things that most people don't realize is there a difference between being an empath and being a psychic, so to speak? And what if there are? What are those differences?
Yeah, there are similarities and differences. So I like to refer to empathy as emotional psychicism. And everybody in the world has a degree of psychicism, empathy, mediumship ability, every power or ability you can think of metaphysically. We all have to different degrees. And those who have very high degrees of empathy can be termed empaths. And that's all it is. It's a title, but it's a comforting title too. It's
Yeah,
there's a lot of solace, I think, in having a term to refer to one's own experiences. And do forgive the traffic in the background. There's some big project going on up the way near the Hindu monastery. So
oh, that's all good.
yeah,
I think that the viewers will just enjoy the view and the content, so it won't matter.
excellent.
So I love this work, and there's reason being is because years ago I wish this would have been out when I was about 20 or 21 years old, and I used to go to. I was just telling somebody earlier in an interview. Yeah, I used to go into mosh pits and stuff like that, and I would get these panic attacks. And not because I was in the mosh pit, but because I was having fun with that. But I feel like somebody was grabbing my neck, and just like that, all that anxiety. And so if I would have known that I was an empath when I was 21, I might not have gone to those Lords of Acid concerts. And
Oh, that's fun. So much bondage. Oh, yes.
that's a whole other show. But I
Sounds
mean, now this work is coming out, and there's very few people teaching anything about being an empath. And
uh-huh. It's true, and the work does seem to be growing, though, in many different fields, from psychology to parapsychology to metaphysics.
yeah,
And empathy is biological, too. And that's why we see it being studied more in physical science, biological sciences, because it's part of who we are as a species. And evolutionarily, if we didn't have empathy, how could we get anywhere? We have to bond with each other, have to understand each other's plights and feelings and emotions, and work together to build and create and sustain community from there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just pulling up the cards here. So what is the difference between well, this is an oracle deck, but for the viewers, what's the difference between an oracle deck and a tarot deck? Oh, I don't know how
Well,
that happened. What's the
we
difference
glitched.
between
The spirits want no one to know the difference.
there you go.
Uh, well, tarot decks have traditionally 78 cards, and the origin of the tarot are very obscured in time, somewhere between Egypt and France and Italy, I think. Who knows? But whatever the case, they have very specific alignments. Tarot cards are very specific and precise. So ideally, each deck has a number of major arcana, and then the minor arcana with the four suits, which is where we get the four suits of the playing cards from. But oracle decks are different because it doesn't matter how many cards they have. Um, they have much more unlimited potential, and they're much more interpretive. I like to think of tarot as much more exact and precise and even scientific. And the deck that I do professional readings with is the Thoth deck, created by Aleister Crowley and painted by Lady Frida Harris around 1900. And that is a very, very precise deck, and it doesn't mess around. It tells you exactly what's going on if one can interpret it correctly. And that's why tarot is such a tarot readings I've found are such a collaborative thing, collaborative project. You work with the reader to really get to the root of things. And with oracle decks, you can have as many cards as you'd like, whatever spirit guides. And for the Empath's Oracle, it was 40 cards, and each one just precisely encompasses what I think empaths need to know. And these are lessons in a short form, in a card drawing form, and there's a little book that's included with it, which you've seen as well. So that includes similar but more concise, boiled down insight about being an empath, as in my Everyday Empath book, and my first book, my baby, Everyday Empathy, or Esoteric Empathy, excuse me.
Gotcha.
So
Basically, this allows for so if I'm going to draw, I was just drawing a card, random, shielding, protecting, and grounding. This would tell the empath something about maybe some kind of message for them in their current life.
oh yeah.
So, I guess it's saying I need to ground to protect myself.
Quite possibly, quite likely, actually. So the thing about the cards is that they can be so interpretive, so they'll actually change meaning time to time depending on when one draws them. Like for example, someone might draw the card called Taking a Vow, and then refer to the mini book inside, and say, okay, what does this mean exactly? Taking a vow, and then they'll flip to the page where I discuss it, and where the artist discusses the imagery, and come to their own conclusions. Oh, I need to take a vow of silence for a little bit, or a vow of committing to this class I want to do and have been putting off. It can really change like that. Or vow of veganism, vow of gardening, so many different options. So these really change, and they rely so greatly on the intuition of the one who draws the cards. So when I draw for people from this deck, which I'll often give, one card reading after a full Thoth deck reading, I'll say, okay, this is up for you to decipher and determine. And so I'll, email them. If they don't have the deck, I'll email them the bits from the book that's included, so they can come to their own conclusions rather than me interpreting for them, because it's so personal.
Yeah, very,
And
very
that's
cool.
part of the artwork too, to make it so personal. And that's why every card, artist Constantine in Germany and we decided that they would all have a face or a silhouette.
Yeah, can I
Every
just
single
share
time.
with everybody the
Yes,
backs of the cards are absolutely
except
beautiful.
for the backs. Yep.
I
Hmm.
mean, they're all just
Hmm.
very beautiful cards, and um, the you can feel the energy on them when you for those of you that are sensitive with energy, you can feel the energy when you touch them. So very cool.
Yeah.
So what made you how did you discover that you were an empath? I mean, I think it's kind of accidental for a lot of us, but how did you discover that in yourself?
Luckily, at this time in human development, I think people can come to that conclusion much easier than in the past.
Mhm.
Much like with what you were mentioning, being at Lords of Acid, which I'm jealous of. And but for me, I had a few wonderful spiritual teachers and guides, in my teens and 20s, and so I remember this one time, and I talk about it actually in my esoteric empathy book, because in this book I have an empathic anecdote that opens up each chapter. And the first anecdote, I discuss how I discovered I was an empath. So what happened is I just had a breakdown in high school. There was no reason behind it that I could see. I was fine. Life was pretty much fine. Uh, I wasn't stoned, which is rare at that time. Um, but yeah, just it was just crazy. I was like, where am I getting all this energy from? What is this? And I just like near breakdown, and I just cut class, which, you know, I've been a good boy, and I don't tend to cut class, so that was rare. And so I cut class, just walked down the street to a spiritual teacher's house, thank goodness, and she said, "Oh, honey, you're an empath." I'm like, "What?" Never heard that term before. So it was very mind opening to and eye opening to start to learn about that. And I knew that when it came to writing, that I should write about other things first, so that I could more fully get a grasp on what it means to be an empath and teach people better that way. So that's why it took a while in my writing career to get to that stage in particular.
Very cool. Yeah, so mine was a Polish woman with a very thick Polish accent that said, "You're an empath, darling."
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Perfect.
It's always something like that. So, a little off subject, what made you go from Missoula, Montana, to Hawaii? Is that a permanent
uh,
move?
bur-
Yeah.
it was burnout, really. Yeah, burnout with the temple that I helped operate for 18 years. And as wonderful as it was, their burnout was a real thing. And then I was also having burnout with the group home I was working in,
Okay.
with 6 developmentally disabled adult males. And I had done that for 12 years after graduating college. So it was just time. And the universe very, very clearly said, this is exactly where you have to go and exactly when you have to go. And everything aligned down to miraculously finding affordable housing. And, the price of my vehicle in Montana sold for the same price as one I was able to find on Craigslist, which was crazy. And I just followed the signs, went for it, and made the leap, which is huge. I had never moved away from Montana before, being born and raised there. And everything since then, it's aligned. It was definitely meant to be.
Yeah,
It's
that's how
very,
it
very
usually works.
difficult. There are some difficulties about, missing my cats tremendously, but I'll get to see them again. But they're
Yeah.
safe. Mm-hmm.
No, I understand that, and probably your roots and stuff like that. I totally get that.
Mm-hmm.
I went on a 22 state tour in 2012 and went through Montana actually. But with even 3 months, you start to miss the people you care about. So totally understand that. So you've done a lot of things. You're a priest, and you're obviously a teacher. You do work with people that are disabled, and then you've also been a DJ as well. Do you still do the DJ work, or is it still
Oh,
is that?
nah, not really. I did goth industrial DJing for 19 years, and then some queer club DJing and some other club goth club gigs. But no, I think those days are behind me, at least for now. But maybe I'll pick it up at some point again.
I was going to say there's a club here in Tampa called the Castle that will love you.
Sounds nice.
So looking at this is just kind of thinking about what's the direction beyond this, beyond the Oracle deck and the trilogy that you've done. Are you planning on doing a tour with your work, or?
Yeah, September I start my tour. So I'll be going to, in order, let's see, Tacoma, Seattle, Minneapolis, Chicago, and Montana.
So you'll be in my home city, Minneapolis.
Yeah, lovely place.
Don't miss the cold.
Yeah.
Just pulling up one of the comments on the social media. And so my daughter just had a baby girl at June 30th, Cancer Sun, Cancer Moon with a Sagittarius rising. Interesting. And keeps teasing that she's a sensitive. And I told her she's going to be a powerful empath. Probably.
It's quite possible. That's one interesting thing, is that our zodiac signs don't determine how empathic we are or are not, but they can add to it. They can contribute to it. I personally think it's more of a soul thing. It depends on the soul, the spirit cycle of the person, the individual, and the zodiac chart can fine-tune those levels of empathy or psychicism, but they don't create it per se, but they can synchronize to some degree. And even though I have a Leo sun birthday in a couple days, and I have a Pisces moon and a Scorpio rising, so I do have the water going on myself, which does augment the empathicness. So yeah, I think it can have an effect, and I've heard that from others as well. But I've also talked to a lot of very strong empaths who have no water in their charts. So I don't think it's dependent, but it can have an effect.
Yeah, it makes. I want to go back to a statement you made, because that was very interesting and it makes a lot of sense. Is that it's more maybe past life, and I was just thinking about a soul that's maybe lived in situations where they've either not been very compassionate, or they had experiences where they were hurt or very sick in that lifetime. The empathy probably transfers over into this lifetime and allows for them to, on an emotional level, be very empathetic with other people, but also be able to sense their emotions. It may be something that they bring out. I like that idea.
Most definitely.
Yeah, there's just so much to that. That's a subject we could probably talk about for a long, long time. But we probably should bring in, what is it, Brian Wise and with the guy Newton. I can't remember his the Destiny of Souls. It's studying all the past lives and stuff like that. But I mean, it's definitely a subject that I really enjoy. I think it's super fascinating. One of the things that my show is really all about is helping people with tools that will help them in the world and overcoming their story. So you've had some, they say we're reborn and we change direction, or we're going down the perfect path. Obviously, the journey has gotten there, but sometimes it looks like we change different paths, but really we're not. But we overcome opposition. So it feels like you've actually overcome a lot of opposition in your life. And
in different forms. I think we all have.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of self-confidence and self-assurance. And one of the big things about empathy is realizing that it's not a curse, it's a gift. High levels of empathy, that is. And that can be very, very difficult to grasp or even accept, because it can seem to cause so much pain if we don't know what to do with the external emotions that are coming in. And so that's why I try to help people learn how to conduct a lot of those emotions, which is not to say that I'm perfect at it, because I am not, but at least can provide some skills and tips and tricks and learn from others along the way.
Yeah, I think it's we just share our truth, right? And then
Mhm.
if it resonates with somebody, then they take that truth and bring it into their own
Yeah.
and stuff. So, what are some of the things that you would do for as an empath to protect yourself or overcome some of the things like I was talking about being in a concert um, and stuff like that? What are some of the things that the empath out there that can actually do?
Well, we exist mind, body, and spirit. So there are things we can do on all these different levels. And what works for one person might not work as well for another. So it really depends. So on a physical level, there's meditation, calming, physiologically calming the brain. Different meditative techniques can be very helpful, different prayer techniques, and medication for anxiety can be helpful for some, especially if it's light on the body and not overdone. It can be very helpful. And, we can perform visualizations. We can call forth our guides and helpers and those who can be around us to help us out and assist us in our journey. The visualizations, of course, would be shielding and protecting. Now, we don't want to put up anything like an iron shield, but there are many different things we can visualize. And it's like, prayer and magic, they're interlinked with imagination. So we can imagine what we wish around us to protect us. There's a lot of herbs and tools and stones and plants and um, drawing down the sun, the moon, drawing from Mother Earth. Water is a big cleanser.
Yeah,
Showers, baths, oceans.
or in some of those waterfalls in Hawaii. Just do that. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, there's a
Pretty
lot of
amazing.
practice. A couple comments here from Rob Abbott. Blessings to you all. Raven's deck is truly amazing. I love all of his work. Made a huge impact in my own spiritual journey.
Thank
And,
you, Rob.
and then being an empath definitely is a gift. Helping others is why we're here. So
Indeed.
absolutely, absolutely.
And that's the tough part, helping others when we need help. And I'm currently struggling with that balance with so much going on. And it's not the first time, I'm sure it won't be the last time, but it does seem to come in waves where we need to put our own needs first. We have to be selfish to some extent, but not neglectful of others. So there's always a balance, a fine line between helping the self and helping others.
I was just
Go ahead.
I was just saying I was just talking about that earlier with somebody. They said I feel like you probably were a codependent at some point in your life. I was like, you got that right. And, but healthy boundaries are a great thing, and it's to me healthy boundaries. Let's
Healthy
preface that
boundary.
are can be very loving actually for both you and other people. So
Right. Yeah, like I won't perform spiritual services or tarot readings or podcasts unless I'm, for example, unless I'm feeling like I can, like my energy's there, that I have enough to give in the moment. And that's just an ethical thing. I think mm, most empaths come with a pretty strong system of ethics and morality and the knowledge of what's right and what's wrong in life.
yeah,
But
well, yeah, because they feel what other people are experiencing at some level, and they wouldn't want to experience that themselves. So
exactly,
very, very cool.
exactly.
So
Which
where
is
would
much like a Buddhist teaching. Yeah, if you harm oneself of the body, if you harm, it's just like the body. If you harm oneself, one part of the body, you're harming the whole body. So just like with anybody else in the world, we're all one unit, one connection.
Yeah, I found that in a lot of the study. I mean, I like a lot of people was raised in a Christian church, and then when I was about 16, left that and started studying just about every other religion other than Christianity. And then when I came back to that, I realized that I'm not going to say all of them, but most religions talk about harm to none.
Mm-hmm.
And then it also, one of the things, there's a principle that you typically out there says work on yourself too. Or in Reiki, they say, heal thyself. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and I think a lot of people don't necessarily do that. And then they want to go out and do this work. I'm like, well, unless you figure yourself out, you can't be out there helping people because it's not just about harming other people at that point in time. You're going to get yourself sick.
Exactly. So true. We
So
can drain ourselves very easily.
yeah,
And with all the books that I write, there it's in a selfish way. I'm doing all this research and talking to all these people, so I can learn better for myself how to be better as an empath and as a human being.
um,
And then I just
ditto.
transmit that to others and be like, "Here you go. This is what I found. I hope it helps."
Same here.
But,
I mean, the only reason why I do it is because I was trying to heal myself, and then I was like, well, maybe I should just share this with other people.
right.
And so in the last few minutes of the show, well, first of all, how do they find you? How do people find you?
Oh,
Like, what's
just
your?
it's really easy. Raven like the bird and digitalis like the plant foxglove. Lowercase one word, ravendigitalis.com. You can see my books on there. And I still need to add the forthcoming Witches Shadow Magic Compendium edition on there, but that'll happen soon. And, ravendigitalis at gmail.com, facebook.com/ravendigitalis, instagram.com/ravendigitalis. So I'm all over the place, but I tend to check emails first. And again, that's ravendigitalis at gmail.com.
Well, the good thing is that Raven Digitalis is an easy name to Google search
Yes.
too, and so
Yeah.
last few minutes of the show, what are some last minute parts of wisdom that you can impart on the viewers or listeners that maybe they can take with
Just
them?
love yourself, and like my friend Morgana has said for a long time, be good to yourself and others. And that's the best we can do. Be good to ourselves and others. That's so wise and so simple, but so hard to remember all the time. And we're all so unique. Another thing is to really count our blessings, gratitude in life, and keep perspective. And one thing that I've been holding on to lately is the idea that we are all survivors. We've all gone this far. We're all alive right now. We've all survived every single day, and we can survive another one and another one as long as it takes. And do as much as we can to cultivate optimism and kindness within that, and be honest with ourselves. That humility goes a long way.
Yeah. Yeah, those are principles that are very easy, but sometimes very, very hard at times. And I always say that spirituality is actually not that hard. It's very simple. We just make it hard, including myself at times. And so,
So
because
easy to convolute. Yeah,
because
so
I'll say
true.
that up on a stage, and then the next 5 seconds later I'll be acting like a drama queen, and I'll be
Yeah.
like, so, and I'm like, but I think like you mentioned, be gentle with yourself too. Be kind to
Oh yeah.
yourself. So, well,
But
wonderful.
yeah, and this just got released. The Empath Oracle got released middle of May, so it's available everywhere. It's got a nice little kit. Just couldn't be happier. Myself and the artist Constantine, we are just thrilled with how it turned out, and we hope everyone else is too. I'm
Yeah,
just honored to collaborate with him because the imagery and his talent, and it's all acrylic, by the way, nothing digitally altered. It's just boom, mind blowing.
yeah, he did an amazing job. Absolutely incredible job. It's absolutely
Yeah.
beautiful. So,
Well, it's been a
well,
pleasure chatting with you, and I hope to do so again in the future.
absolutely. And everybody that's watching, next week I will have Michael Silver and Donna Campbell on the show, and several other people coming up. But it's every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Everybody have an amazing week, and peace. Much love.